Hi, and welcome to Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders. My name is Gary Cox. I am your host. I'm also the author of a book, Cultivating Champions of CI, a leader's toolbox for creating a continuous improvement culture. I'm excited to bring to you episode 2 of my two-part series with Trish Wilson. She's a global connector, she's an improvement artist, and she's a whole lot more, as you're going to hear and learn about. We talk about how do you harness that idea of connectors inside of your business to be able to get that kind of super powered energy and focus and resource that can come from having a connector inside your organization. She's also going to talk about what she does and how she does it. So how do these kind of networking, brainstorming type sessions work? And finally, we talk about what's next. And this is kind of interesting. I'm going to leave you hanging on this one, that we have something planned or in the works that we finish our discussion on that I'm really excited about. You're going to want to hear that.
How would you say to a business leader, you need to kind of do this kind of thing within your own environment network? Because I think there's an opportunity.
Oh, this huge opportunity. It's massive. And I think I don't know whether it's undervalued or just under-realized, because it is quite random. It looks random. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. So It's not like I have a conversation with someone, there's an outcome the next day, always. That guy who messaged me after 4 years and finally said to me, look at the value of it. So it's hard. There's a few answers to that question, and I think one, overall, the way we work needs to change. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Just that whole top-down hierarchy structure, people locked in, is not working for many people at all. To do that, you have to have different social contracts. You have to have different ways of getting paid, remunerating people. There are, if you take the structure away, there's people whose superpowers are all sorts of things. And so how would you do it as a leader if it's not your superpower to do this, if that's not your sort of magic to go around and be that curious and be the link and be the connector? Be willing to find the people in your organization who just love doing that, and they could be anywhere. They could be anywhere in the organization. Because people do it. People are doing what I'm doing. I just want to make it I am doing it as a profession. It's what I do full time. But there are, everyone's doing it. So, some people are natural connectors, and there's a whole discipline around organizational network analysis and people looking at those social connections. So it's been a discipline for 20, 30 years. It hasn't quite shut up in New Zealand yet, but mind you, we're only 1 degree of separation. So I think we've got this sort of like natural network. But find the person or find the people who are your natural connectors and support them. I mean, if you're the leader and you're a natural connector, good, do it. But then you've got to be willing to allow for tangent behavior from that person. And somebody said to me, one of my very, very dear lean friends in New Zealand who's now retired, he said, I've only met 2, because I don't think it's very common from this way of going about connecting with people and being so excited about talking to people, asking them a question, being genuinely interested in the answer because you want to ask another question, because you're genuinely interested in that answer because you want to ask another question, because you're thinking in the back of your mind going, wait, I think I've got something that might help you. Because it looks random and it looks like the person's, and I did have a job where I ended up doing this. I was employed to be the continuous improvement specialist and take over from the consultants and sort of like on coach and take the organization to forward once it sort of had the structure from the consultants. And it was an interesting structure. So I was like learning and thinking and learning from people around the world and then learning from people across New Zealand. But at the same time, I was sort of across a company. We had 19 different physical sites. There wasn't, some of those people there's only 2 or 3 people at the site, but we had 19 different sites. So I was connecting the dots, and so a couple of people were a bit mean. They were sort of like, oh, you're just having corridor conversations, or you're out on a junket. And I was thinking, I'm actually doing far more work out and about than I would be at my desk. If I wanted to rest, I'd sit at my desk because
Right.
it's actually hard work even though you care and you want to do it. So, but you have to be able to sort of, the person who was talking about a tangent person, go, here's an idea, and the tangent person goes like this, and you don't know where they've gone. You see, don't know where they've gone. You don't know what they're doing. But when they come back, they've come back with something better than what you would have thought of in the first instance. But you have to, as a leader, you have to allow that, and that can be hard it's still a very linear world in the majority. And so to pay someone and to support someone, say, a month, what am I paying you for? What's the outcome? But at the end of the month, you might have, some things are going to take longer to seed. And one of the things I found was quite interesting. I remember going to actually I attended this session. I didn't run it. But at the end of it, we spent an entire day together talking about opportunities for improvement and a system for capturing all opportunities for improvement. At the end of the day, we went round the table. It was like, what was our biggest takeout? And I'd been sitting next to this guy all day, and he said what his takeout was. And I thought, I didn't look at him like this, but I thought, is that what was on your mind all day? I was like, you can't get in someone else's mind.
No.
But so it takes a while to understand. But now that he'd answered that question, as a networker, improvement network, you could take that forward and go, okay, well, how can I help you with the next piece of that puzzle? Like the events, when you're running the networking events and connecting people have to put something in because you can't read their mind, and they have to be willing to say, to really.
There's 2 words that are coming to my mind as you're talking. One is trust. The other is vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There needs to be an element of trust that, hey, I trust you to help make this happen, but I'm also going to be vulnerable enough that I'm going to allow myself to trust when I say something, it's going to be received the right way and it's going to be engaged, right? So those 2 words come to mind for me. And and when you think about picking somebody in an organization I'm not even sure what the job title would be, but to your point, maybe it's chief tangent operators. I don't know, but whatever that job is, there would have to be a tremendous amount of trust that this person was going to be able to achieve something big or bigger than they would be if you didn't allow them to do it, right?
Yeah. So the leader's got to have trust in the.
Right. And so do the people, right? If I think about, you bring this group of people together, and because you've connected the dots on who would be really good to connect with each other, it doesn't necessarily mean they know that. They need to have a level of trust in you that you're bringing them together with this group for something extraordinary, and they've got to feel vulnerable enough to say, I want to be a part of that. It's a bit of an unknown for me, but I trust Trish enough that I'm going to participate, right?
Yeah, well, one of my very good friends, actually from the blood service, she's now in Spain. She said it is like a dinner party host. So or a party host. You trust the host, and you trust the host has got your back, and you trust the host is watching, and the host is watching. Even if the host is not doing anything, the host is watching. But see, that makes you, I don't know whether I should say this, but that makes it look like you're not necessarily doing anything if you're not doing anything. People think you're not working. And it's actually, you're working very hard because you're watching a room of 20 people. You're watching every single one of those 20 people going, do I need to step in? Going, oh my gosh, that looks like an amazing conversation going on over there. And you're looking at, and you're seeing someone not necessarily by themselves, but you're seeing, does that work? Or you're like, oh, that person really needs to know. Oh, those 2 people are very similar and they'll be having a great conversation, but that person needs to be in there. And then you'll rush over to that person and go, come over here. And,
right.
So
I mean, obviously you like to explore people's potential and the potential of bringing two people together, right? How do you encourage people to step outside of their comfort zone? Because I mean, you're obviously very outgoing and like myself, don't mind talking to people that you've never met before. Or I mean, I reached out to you and we've had this great chat. And but how do you encourage people in that, or do you because when you bring a group of people together, you like you say you don't know what they're like. How do you encourage that participation? Because you said no bystanders. Everybody's gets a chance with the speaking stick or whatever you called it, and
Mhm.
so how do you encourage that?
That's a good question. I think a few ways. One, uh, it's quite relational, so you need people to be um, telling you things and feedback, honest feedback, and um, willing to share with you how they really felt or what they really thought.
Mhm.
There's actually quite a level of discernment that goes on.
Mm.
So if you go back to the jazz analogies, if you've got someone who's going to come in and go clang 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 clang, look at me, I'm so amazing, look at I've got my cymbal and I'm going to play really loud, that's not going to make good music. It's not going to help anybody. And so you do leave you do leave people out because
Mm.
that combination, that exchange isn't going to work. So people then can sense that. They can sense that you are matchmaking and producing and bringing things together in a certain way that's going to because you care about people. And if I not if you've got it wrong, but someone will say, oh yeah, that didn't cause kind of work because of this and stuff, so you don't do that connection again. Yeah, I think there's a difference between a team that's already established that you're
Hmm.
bringing together,
Yeah.
and these are always people who are not a team. So
Hmm.
I'm bringing people who are not a team together. So
Right.
they
Right.
um
So are
I mean,
you the
if
common
they're
denominator in all of that, Trish? Do you know everybody that you're bringing together, or if person if you were talking to me and for example now you and I got to know each other and just oh Gary would be good to this event and I said oh I got to bring along so and so because it'd be really good. Is that good enough for you, or do you kind of say well let me get to know that person too, and then how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it is that nuance that you need to know people. And I've done a lot and experimented a lot. And two things: if you don't know the person, yeah, you don't know how they're going to come across, how they're going to act, how they're going to interact. So you actually do need to know people,
Okay.
and you do need to have face to face, either in person or digitally. You do need to have met them, and if you haven't, it doesn't work as well. So
Okay.
yeah, so you do need to know everybody. And we used to have in New Zealand, we back I don't know, a good 10 years ago or something, we had meetups, and I had a membership network, and people would say, well, I'm signed up, but I can swap someone in, right? And I said no, which
Mhm.
actually it actually meant that the membership model didn't work, because they were thinking, well, the company's paid for it, it's my membership, but I can, we can just
Send who
swap
we
it in
want.
out and get value out of it. And I'm like, no, because you bring someone comes, and it happened a couple of times, and then I I experimented and it didn't work. And I mean, the people who came were great. They were good people, they were nice people, but they didn't get it the same way everyone else got it. So everyone else would sort of rock up, go to start talking, and this person would go, so how does this work? What's it about? And so you all of a sudden the dynamics of trust have shifted. And again, not because there was anything wrong with the other person, so they they weren't symbol clashes, but they hadn't been part of the comms, they hadn't been part of
Mm.
the flavor of it. And so then it slanted it. So this group of people didn't get as much out of it because this person was having to catch up. Now that doesn't mean that someone can't join, it just means that they have to join in at a different part,
Hmm.
so that
Okay.
the or you set it up. Again, it's a lot in the structure. So how do you actually set it up? So because I think a couple of those people, it was only on the day they said, oh, I can't come, such and such is coming instead, so I didn't have enough notice. Whereas if you said, right, we're going to have 2 people who've never come before, this is who they are, this is their title, this is what they're doing, that would be all right, because then but just for them to sort of like rock up, you've
got it.
If you're enjoying this episode of Mic Drop Insights and Lessons from CI Thought Leaders, be sure to like, subscribe, add your comments. We'd love to hear them.
So when would somebody, and how would somebody know that, oh, I need to contact Trish? What would trigger them to reach out to you?
Really, it's a lot of the people I meet as I'm going along, and then as they get to figure out what you're doing, they're like, oh, well, cool, how could we find, or how could this work, or where's the possibilities. I think it's quite, people have said it's quite boutique, so it's certainly not mass. I would like a digital version one day, not to replace LinkedIn, but just, you can imagine, it's quite, it is analog and it works, but there would be, imagine if you got sort of like all the people that I've connected over the last, I've been doing this full time since 2014. If you got all those people and they were in a, they could electronically find each other separately from me, that would also be useful. There's a person I was in contact with on the East Coast of America, and he had a platform where mentors and mentees at a university could connect with each other. And there were certain questions that they asked, and if they were aligned in thinking like work was a vocation, or work was just a job, or it was a career, if they thought about it, if he aligned people, then they had quite a good exchange, and then they'd have like a certain number of connections over 6 months, and I think
so sort of like a dating app.
well, people have said that. That's what, yes. So a dating app. So can you have a dating app, but then somehow you'd want to get the feedback from the dating app, so that people, someone would go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Are there anyone else? Is there anyone else like that? And then you might think to yourself, oh, well, there's actually 5 people I know who are like, you've just dated, you've just met this person. There's 3 others. So then you can make a combination of 5. And so then, that would be like, I'm always inspired by like Fleetwood Mac, and when you read about, the chemistry and the synergy of 5 people coming together, creating more than the individual 5 people. So it's that you're looking for that synergy. It's like, how do you get those 5 people to make more synergy, and then more, I say noise, but I'm not sure whether noise is the right word. Noise in the world.
I understand. Yeah.
To
music.
make more music in the world. Yeah, more improvement music in the world. And then as everything starts coming together, it just will make the world a better place.
Well, we've been talking for a while here. This has been great. This is really, really, I definitely want to chat with you again and do this and talk about other opportunities. Maybe we do it with a small group, and we kind of, you find 3 or 4 people, and we create one of these sessions that we could actually create a small video from. I don't know, but it would be kind of cool.
Why not?
If you're open for that. I think I'd be up for that. So if you thought that there would be some folks in your network that would value that kind of discussion, just find a topic that we could talk about. But
that's a great idea. That's a really, really good idea. Yeah, because I think it's a bit nebulous. It's a bit it's intangible. It's an intangible idea. But then when people do it and see it, they go, I get it. That's good.
It would be very cool for people to be able to witness and go, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's our takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
but no, it's been great having you as on the program, and I was often thinking, how much am I going to edit this down? I may not edit it much at all. I think that the discussion was great, really good.